out now. The floor is open for questions. It's dark in the back, it's hard to see from the head. Thank you. Please tell us your name and affiliation.
Matthew Jacobson, just here as an individual. I'm curious how you would respond to critics who would say that that by targeting Islam as a whole, you make the war unnecessarily large. That there are a billion Muslims. Some Muslim countries have nuclear weapons. It is, even if you're right about the truth of the matter, it's impractical to make the scope of the conflict so large. It would be more practical to say, oh, it's just a small difference and we have small matters to address and not make the scope of the conflict as large.
Well, thank you very much for your question. I believe that the problem is not small at all. If the problem would be small, you would have a point, sir. But the problem couldn't be larger than it is today. And of course I make the distinction, like I said in my speech, between the ideology and the people. I would never advocate anything against Muslims, but I know that the growth of the population, the changes of the demography, the results of the mass immigration, brings our countries in a lot of trouble. If you would come and visit Europe today, if you would go to visit cities like Malmö or Amsterdam or Berlin or Marseille or Rome or Paris, you would see that there are enormous problems that we face today with Islam. You will see that there are parallel societies where there is no rule of law. You will see that because of the immigration and the demography, like I said in my speech, the Sharia is growing, and that our so-called leaders are giving in because of political correctness and because they want to appease and because they believe that the problem is small. But the problem is not small. The problem is huge, and we have to address it as it really is, and that is a problem with Islam.
I want to thank you for your candor and the unapologetic nature of your tone, which is so refreshing that it doesn't need to be strident. But one thing that I picked up on, which has struck me all the way going back to the American elections, and I'm wondering to what degree you can do better and your colleagues can do better. We noticed in America that during the elections that the electorate and the press had a very careful approach to candidate Obama, as if they were dealing with a handicapped child coming forward and growing up and overcoming his immaturity. He's now the president, and there's far less margin for error. Hugo Chavez was extremely successful in not only drawing attention, but relevance, and actually mainstreaming himself by how overtly confrontational he was with President Bush. Nobody is confronting the Obama agenda unapologetically, forcefully, and yet so many people have an unease about it. And so this is one person who perhaps others agree with, who is appealing to you as a leader, as an articulate leader, as a measured leader, who is unafraid of opposition, that if there are like-minded individuals, that if you are going to make a difference to this prevailing tide of silliness and naivete, you will have to take it on at its highest level. And if it is enabled by Obama, you're going to have to go after Obama directly and unapologetically, and people will listen.
Yes, well, I agree. I agree with what you said, and this is why it's so important that we should not compromise too much on this most important issue. And I know that if my party, unlike the United States, we have no two-party system, so we have a multi-party system, and we always have to compromise to form a coalition government. But we should not, once again, compromise. At least my party will not go into any government if we would have to compromise too much on the issues I was just talking about. And you see, like I said, in many other countries, you see in Denmark that the Danish People Party, as an example, is not part of the coalition, but gives support to a minority government in order to change their laws and strengthen their laws when it comes to immigration. And you see in a lot of other European countries the same things happening. Unfortunately, the United States now is going a little bit in the wrong direction. Because there is only one way, and that is the way through the democratical process. It can start from the grassroots level organizations. It can start from many organizations that you have even more than we do have in Europe, and I'm jealous about that. But it should be done in a democratical way with parties that are not willing to compromise too much. Now let me tell you, the difference between the political elite and the Vox Populi is enormously high, especially on this issue. And not only because people really have read the Quran and know what everything that I was just talking about, but because people believe that there are changes, and they see every day again that there are changes in their neighborhoods, in their schools. And when it comes to the security, when they take a bus or go in the metro, they see that changes, and they see that changes for the worse. They see their country changing and having another kind of identity. And people are fed up with that. The question is, will we be in time? Will we be in time to have those kind of changes? If a politician, or if an intellectual, or a journalist, if he stands up today, he will be either prosecuted, or demonized by the political elite, or taken to court, or threatened by Muslim radicals. So there is a very high penalty on speaking out politically or in any other way in favor of keeping our freedom. And that's why I'm so angered by this Egyptian-American initiative in the United Nations, because I know I'm the best example, but there are so many others that know what price you have to pay if you speak out, if you use your freedom of speech in favor of preserving our identity and our freedom and against the Islamization, that even though it's so unfairly difficult, that there are laws and UN resolutions that even try to make it more difficult. At that stage we are today, and this is why I'm saying enough is enough. We have to stand up, we have to stop being on the defense, we have to go on the offense. There is no other way.